Hello, welcome to today's collective general reading. As always, remember to use your own discernment, join with intention, and allow the message to be received with an open heart. A quantum reminder, we are speaking through symbol and story here. So please do not rely on tarot readings as factual evidence. You are always encouraged to do your own research, especially when engaging with strangers on the internet. Hello, howdy. In the description, you will find a link to my Buy Me a Coffee, where there are a few personal readings and experimental integration sessions up for grabs, as well as my Substack, which hosts the 444 Collective, where the signal is active. I mentioned it in a previous video that I'm going to be reading through the Divine Comedy. I was deciding where I wanted to put that, and I am going to put it on my second channel because it's not necessarily channeling tarot mysticism in that way, although I have no doubt that that will become a part of this process. So I did a little switcherooing of my second channel. I'm going to have that linked in the description, and that I don't yet know where I'm going to be posting more often, this and that, but Divine Comedy will be with pluralities, and here we are at Tori Hydra. Okay. So based on what I've been seeing, hearing, literally also sensing, also, oh my god, the heaviness of everything, that reminds me. I also wanted to talk about layers of reality. And are we going to pull cards? I think so, but it's going to be talking for a bit. I'd mentioned this in a couple of previous videos, I think, but I now have a full-time job that is in a career that I was actually walking away from, and I got a very cool opportunity in research, and so I'm doing that now. And therefore, this whole Tori Hydra platform is no longer my full-time energy effort spot, and so this is going to be more so I post when I post. It's not going to be 5 to 6 times a week. It would be nice to get once a week. But even then, no promises. But I get the sense I'm getting messages that are coming through to be communicated, and this is where they're going to go. So this reminds me, I need to link a video about quantum physics below. And I only watched maybe the first 3 to 5 minutes, and it was a aha moment a few days ago. Anyway, I have mentioned this before, but I think maybe I only mentioned it in the live. In my playlists, there's something called Follow the Trail, which is essentially a long list, ever growing, of ways that I view and recognize the universe. Some of it goes into mysticism, history, science, quantum physics, space, channeling. There's some stuff with the Thors there. It's just kind of when I have a recognition, I put that there because I think other people would like to recognize that as well. So that is something that just exists. I don't even know if I put any of my videos in it, but if you're curious for what I'm seeing, sensing, thinking, knowing, that's a great place to start. Now, I have been saying this since I did that video tuning in with Earth Mother very shortly after I did the video with Scythe, and I've been talking about volcanoes, and that I sensed a big eruption, something brewing, etc., etc. I've kind of been keeping my eye out, and then I was doing some research on like, okay, is there an influx of volcanoes? Like, how often are they erupting? Is this normal? Is it happening all the time? And from the little research that I did, I got the sense that like, okay, like volcanoes go every day all around the world. It's a normal thing, even though it's not average where I live. Like that's a new phenomena to me. It is unfamiliar to me in this body. And so I was like, okay, I don't know where exactly that came from, but I'm just gonna let myself sit with the knowledge that it's very common. End story. And then like 2 days later, after I had kind of put down the volcano thought, Stefan Burns, he's a geologist here on YouTube. He talks about, well, I think in his intro, he's like geologist, space weather guy, something. He posts a lot of videos talking through science. I have not fact checked him. I am trusting him at his word. But yeah, he put out a video a couple days ago specifically about volcanoes and about a history of, like, throughout the centuries of a pattern of eruptions. And I was getting the sense he was saying that we are about to hit like mega eruptions. I could be hearing that wrong, but that was interesting. I didn't finish the video, but today, I believe it was today or yesterday, Pam Gregory put out a video with a guest. The title is talking about blue light, and in it they're talking about, as the human, I don't want to like confirm nor deny, but they're talking with spirit and beings in higher states of consciousness with more layers to reality, more dimensions. And in it, wow, it's like an appliance just cuts out through the wall as that silence appears. Through that, early on, she was talking about 333 and how that's the message that these beings have brought, and it's about time. I think it's like 3 days, 3 months, 3 years? I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on that. Go look into that on your own if you're interested. But something about when she said 333, I heard my 444. And the 444 collective came to me in the fall, and I've been carrying that through, but I just felt that there was a connection there. In the last video that I posted, I believe, I was talking about a veil, and then like a day later, 2 days later, Carrie K puts out a video talking about a veil. And I'm like, okay. Now, there's ways to look at this in terms of like, well, there are patterns everywhere. And if we're all talking about the same things, we are going to have these crossover points. And so I'm not bringing attention this to be like proof backing up what I'm saying. What I feel is important I think it's important, and therefore it's a role that I carry, is coordinating where these messages are coming from. And so for me, it's important to be noting when things are coming through and notice patterns there, and also see where these messages are appearing. But volcano and veil was really coming out for me the last little while, and to see those two pop up, I said, okay. I will get to stars. Fire, no blow. There was, when I was setting up the shot, I was moving the candle around, and then I lit the candle because I always want the flame to be on. And then I was like, okay, technically the flame here is fully in view, but you can see there is the extra light surrounding the flame. There's the fire and there's the energy around the physical existence of fire. And read into that what you will. In this very moment, it's coming through to me as like ourselves as light bodies. And I don't mean light in terms of light in opposition to dark, I mean energy. And not having an understanding for how little of a grasp we have on our energetic bodies, thinking that we just need to build up our flame, not recognizing so much of the power existing around our flame. Something to that. Stars. Okay. Was it last night or night before? I was trying to fall asleep, but you know, I'm awake, I'm wide awake. And when my eyes were closed and when my eyes were open, I was seeing the night sky. I was seeing like a dark blue, navy, black sky with stars. And I was like, okay, I see this with my eyes closed. I'm gonna open my eyes, and I see it now happening through my ceiling. And I said, okay. And so I would shake my head a little left or right, you know, how like your eyes are the camera essentially. And so when your eyes are moving, the visual you are viewing is also moving, right? The stars didn't move. I was moving. My vision for what was in the room with me was like, you know, moving left and right as my head and my eyes move left or right, but there's no movement from the stars. And I just got the sense of, okay, I'm seeing through into something. I don't know if I was seeing straight through my roof to the stars above me, if it was something that is in this galaxy, if it is another view, I don't know. I don't know what it is, and I think I'm just I'm at this, oh, okay. I'm at this point where I'm really not going to be questioning or deep diving into everything that it is that I see, but if it's something that I believe is for me to pass on, I'm going to pass it on. I know some of you are more aware and knowledgeable about astronomy and universe and the cosmos and stars and that scientific plus and starseed layer of things. And so perhaps something will pop up here. I'm, of course, not getting it exactly. It was kind of like that. Now, it was closer together. The colors coming in are interesting. But it was 3, and then it was another parallel of 3, and then it was kind of boxed in, and then there was like more and. I didn't even sketch it last night. It was today, midday. I could still remember it, and so I wrote it down on a little Post-it. I don't know if this means something. I don't know what this means. I don't know if this is an entry point, if this is a specific, but when I was writing down fire, no glow, and I wrote the W came through as the W of Cassiopeia and the 5 stars amongst that. So that may also be a layer of something. Cassiopeia was coming up a lot for me last year, and it was when I was like, I'm just gonna run with it. I'm not gonna look into it. And then I looked into it later and I said, oh, a lot of that makes sense. Okay, so that is me sharing some coordinates for you to go off and do your own research and see what comes up for you. I'm curious if any of this has been showing up for you in similar, in different, in rhyming and mirroring reversal ways. Another thing that I want to talk about is this layers of reality and then I think we are going to do some cards, but it may end up being 2 videos where we already just passed 1444. So, in the description, I am going to have a link to this video talking about, is it quantum consciousness? I'm not really sure. And I can't speak for the whole video. I think there's a lot of science in there, but I don't know this channel. I don't know it's anything, but I'm just, like everything on this channel, take it with a grain of salt and do your own research. There was something talking about, and I can't remember the term for it. I'm like, it's on my phone, but I am using my phone to record right now. So perhaps I'll look it up before the next reading. Anyway, and it's talking about what some people call grids. And the different dimensions that we live within. And I'm really not giving you anything to go off of. But when I was on the way home, I was thinking about this and I was like, okay, what's some way that I can visually explain this? Let's say this is one layer of reality. This hand, this is you, okay? This is a layer of reality. You're inside of it and there's these holes. There are these bigger holes where it's like, wow, what's over here, right? And there's these smaller holes where you could get tangled up inside of, where you could, you know, be flipping things around, etc., etc. Or also, if you are more precise, you can find these multiplicity of exits, okay? This is one grid. This is another grid. And so I can, you know, because I'm being intentional and I'm looking for it, I can go through the green one and I can go through the pink one. I can even take the green one out through the pink one if I want. But either way, I can find an exit. I can find something, right? And then we have another one, which is similar to the first one, but still different. And it's getting heavier. It's a heavy layer. But if I wanted to, I could still find my way out. And then we have another one. I love doilies. And this is like getting heavier on my wrist. My arm just wants to sit down. What does it want to do? It wants to not move. Why? Because it's denser. Because there's now more of a gravitational force pulling on this that requires more energy. Blah, 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 right? All that science. And all this to say, these are all of the dimensions of reality that we exist inside of. And I'm not the spatial scientist, so I'm not really the person to be explaining this well. This is why I'm going to link that video. But all of this is still able to find a way out, right? Then there's this. This is rabbit, actually. Yeah, somebody was gonna show me how to make a pair of mitts a few years ago, and then it never happened, so I just have these 2 rabbit pelts now. And I can try and force my way through, right? But I'm having a harder time trying to come up through this layer because of how dense this is, because of how closely the atoms are held together. There's less holes than there are in these doilies, right? Although technically this rabbit fur, as is everything else in the entire universe, is not a physical solid thing. Nothing is. Everything comes down to a quantum level, singular atoms that are huddled closely together. Now, don't take the science from me, look into this, but I'm gonna, like layman's terms, break this down. this wooden table, it's only a bunch of atoms held together, but they are held together tighter than these pieces of ash, right? Like these are more malleable. I can engage with this and something happens, versus if I just keep rubbing on this table, over time, surely like water washing away a rock, I'm gonna make a dent, but it's gonna take a long time because this is less malleable because the atoms are tightly packed together. But as I hear that siren, tightly packed together is not the same as solid. And like we use the term solid to explain like gas to liquid to solid. Sure, that's a whole thing, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to, like, it's not impenetrable. And I've used this example before. I've talked about it on my Substack, but I know that like if I, put my hand through this, or I attempt to put my hand through this desk 84 million times, one of those times my hand may go through. Some would call it a miracle. Sure. Absolutely. Is it a rarity in the cosmos? Absolutely. Do you know how big the cosmos is? It's very big. I don't know how big it is. I know it's very big. And so when it comes to these layers of reality, there is also a reality where I somehow as I'm like having trouble with it, find a way through. Am I having difficulty? Yeah, because it's a solid rabbit or solid rabbit. All of this to say is, when we're talking about manifestation and being conscious co-creators with the universe, we're not saying that none of these rules apply. What we're saying is, you are essentially developing a game plan with the universe. So you may see this first layer and be like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure I don't get lost in this. So I have my way figured out. That's awesome. The next one may come and you're like, okay, I'm gonna be very intentional. I'm gonna plan this out. I'm gonna manifest. I'm gonna prepare. Great. I'm prepared. You can see this as being through the veil. You can see this as just like seeing the universe and existence and consciousness for what it is. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But it is about becoming, ooh, I didn't even mean that. I just tossed it over, but it's the same way that the first two landed. Isn't that interesting that a repetition of pattern appeared without intentional intention, because I had already been putting the intention through, and through this, it appeared. Okay. Now, by knowing what it is that I'm looking at, by being familiar with the layers, I'm able to have no trouble peeking through to the other side. Now, when it comes to the rabbit, if I find a thinner spot, I believe this is probably where his little tail was. Rest your soul, rabbit. Thank you for your fur. I really appreciate this. I thank you for your gift. Yes. It is possible for me to find a way through. I don't know if you can even really see that like my finger is like barely poking through. But I ended up using my pinky because these were too big. And blah, 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 not to call it a cheat code, but the idea of you are working through these layers of reality. And when you are learning to walk with the laws of the universe, as opposed to pushing against the force to walk with the current, you gain more, 24, you gain more opportunities for direct connection with source. I brought out this, I think it's moss agate or just agate, because this I kind of use every now and then. It's kind of like a giant worry stone for me. It's just if there's stress or anxiety or whatever, this is just a really easy guy to have nearby. And when I was setting up and this came over, I'm like, I don't need this right now. I'm fine. And like it has other uses for sure, but that for me is what I like. That's my first connection with this rock. And that's telling me that there is someone who's needing some sort of spiritual comfort blanket. And not that you are hiding from the universe or anything like that, not that you are afraid of participating, but it can be helpful to have something nearby that you can grab, and it roots you. It grounds you to where you are. It assists you in another layer through ascension. Okay, so I am going to pull some cards for this, but it's 25 minutes, and so I am going to cut this one now, and then I will see you when the next one appears. So if this message resonates with you, or if any of this is also what you are seeing pop up, if you find it interesting, you're curious, you'd like to have a discussion, you are welcome to say hello in the comments. I'm enjoying being more active in the comments, where I'm like posting less and I get to kind of have a dialogue. So that's been interesting. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that does things. And stay tuned.